Today, we're diving into something that sounds like science fiction, but is very, very real. The combination of artificial intelligence and virtual reality in education. Now, this isn't about flashy gimmicks. We're talking about a genuine learning revolution, and one that's actually backed by some pretty solid data. So let's get into how it all works. Let's start with a question we can all relate to. Why do we forget so much of what we learn? You know the feeling, right? You study like crazy for an exam, or you sit through a day of training, and just a week later, poof! Most of it's gone. It's a real thing called the forgetting curve, and it's one of the biggest challenges in education. But what if we could finally flatten that curve?
We see, for hundreds of years, the way we learn has been pretty passive. You read a book, you listen to a lecture, and look, that works, up to a point. But when it comes to long-term memory and actually applying complicated skills in the real world, that's where these old methods really start to struggle. And that's the core dilemma we're trying to fix.
And that brings us to the big solution. The AI VR revolution. By mixing the total immersion of virtual reality with the smarts of AI, we're not just making small improvements, we're building completely new ways to learn that are just, well, better. And we have the proof.
Okay, let's get right to the numbers. And this first one is a biggie. Studies are showing that for complex, hands-on skills, think about medical procedures or intricate repairs, learners using AI-powered VR get the hang of it up to 2.6 times faster. That is a massive leap in how quickly someone can become competent.
So you learn faster, but does it stick? Well, get this. Students using these tools retain up to 40% more information. I mean, that's not just a little bump. It's a huge jump in retention. It really proves that learning by doing, even in a virtual world, cements those memories way more effectively.
And check out this number because it's really telling. A study looked at soft skills training, things like leadership and conflict resolution, which are notoriously hard to teach. After 4 weeks, the group that used AI VR remembered 89% of what they learned.
And you can really see the impact here. That 89% for the AI VR group is way ahead of the control group's 72%. That 17-point difference isn't just a number, it's a real lasting advantage. The knowledge actually sticks around.
So what's the magic here? How does this actually work? Is it just about putting on some cool 3D goggles? Not even close. The real game changer, the secret sauce, is the intelligence that AI brings to the whole thing.
This quote just nails it. VR gives you the immersion. It literally puts you inside the learning environment. It tricks your brain into thinking it's real. But the AI, that's what provides the adaptivity. It customizes that entire world just for you. Let's break that down a bit more. Think of standard VR as a one-size-fits-all ride at an amusement park. Everyone gets the exact same experience. But AI-powered VR? That's totally different. It acts like your own personal coach, watching every move you make and changing the lesson on the fly to fit your needs. So how does the AI actually do that? Well, it adapts in 3 really clever ways. First, it creates adaptive learning paths. If you're getting it, it gives you a harder challenge. If you're struggling, it simplifies things. Second, it gives you real-time feedback, pointing out mistakes the moment you make them. And third, it can simulate realistic mentors or customers that you can actually talk to and interact with. It's incredible.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, right? So you might be wondering, if it's so great, why isn't this in every school and every company already? Well, as you can imagine, even with all this incredible potential, getting it out into the real world is filled with some pretty big challenges.
The research points to 3 big roadblocks that keep coming up. First, there's the economic hurdle. This stuff can be expensive, both the headsets and creating good software. Second, the didactic hurdle. That's the teaching side. Most educators just haven't been trained on how to weave this into their lessons. And third, you've got the technical headaches, like not having good enough Wi-Fi or just managing a classroom full of headsets.
And here's the really tricky part. These hurdles are all connected. They create what the research calls a didactic cost spiral. It's a vicious cycle. Because teachers aren't trained, the tech doesn't get used much. Because it's not used much, it's hard to justify spending money on it. And because there's no money, no one makes great educational content for it, which brings you right back to the beginning. It's a trap that's tough to get out of. But it's not hopeless. Not at all. For every single one of these challenges, there are clear, practical solutions starting to emerge. The key is to stop looking at them as separate problems and start building a real strategy to tackle them all at once. And here's what that strategy looks like. To fix the money problem, you've got things like no-code platforms, which let non-programmers build their own VR lessons, and VR as a service, which is like leasing the equipment. For the teaching problem, there are frameworks like TPACK. And for the tech headaches, there's software called Mobile Device Management, or MDM, that makes it all easier to handle.
Let's zoom in on that teaching piece for a second. The TPAC framework basically says that to do this right, a teacher needs more than just knowing how to turn the headset on. You have to blend three things perfectly: your knowledge of the technology, your teaching strategy or pedagogy, and your deep expertise in the content itself. You need all three for the magic to happen.
So let's put it all together. This framework perfectly maps every problem to a real-world solution. Worried about expensive content? The answer is no-code platforms. Overwhelmed by managing dozens of devices? MDM software is the key. The big takeaway here is that none of these hurdles are impossible, they are all solvable problems.
So if you look at all of it, the powerful evidence, the real-world challenges, and the practical solutions, you start to realize that the entire conversation around this technology is shifting. We're at a turning point.
And this right here is the bottom line. The evidence is in. AI-powered VR is a phenomenally effective tool for learning, so the debate isn't really about if it works anymore. We know it does. The decisive question now is how we're going to strategically and thoughtfully bring it into our schools and workplaces.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. The data is clear, the tools are getting better and cheaper every day, the technology is officially here. The only real question left is, are we ready to rethink how we teach?